Good afternoon, everyone. Lovely fucking day, isn't it? Hasn't been a lot of content lately. I've been so busy with other stuff. Just time has been very, very limited. So there's been a lack of videos for me, lack of content. First off, I want to say congratulations to Nick Ball last week. I'm a huge Nick Ball fan. I was so busy last week, never got a chance to watch a video, do a video on that, or even watch it live. Also this weekend, so Arthur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol, the best fight in boxing, undeniably, I would say. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. I think a lot of people have been flip-flopping on who we think will win this. I think it's the best fight in boxing outside of the Usyk Fury return. I mean, that's a really good fight. For a long time, I firmly believe Beterbiev was favourite for this. And it's strange who you listen to. You watch a lot of the boxing outlets, a lot of the boxing channels. I think it's pretty split between who people think is favourite in this. They're both contrasting styles. From the outside, it looks like Dmitry Bivol is the technician, the superior pure boxer. The power lies with Beterbiev, although I don't class Beterbiev as a one-punch knockout sort of artist. I don't think he's that type of puncher. He is a destructive puncher nonetheless, but a lot of his knockouts come with accumulation, and his power's more accumulative power rather than one-punch knockout power. You look at Dmitry Bivol, he certainly doesn't look to punch as hard, although as well, his style sort of dictates that he doesn't try and punch with that kind of power. He's got a lot more of a flow about his style. One thing about Dmitry Bivol is that kind of makes him look like this superior technician is the fact that when he unloads shots, especially in combination, he will punch when it is that he is set and his opponent is set so that he is safe in throwing his punches in bunches. And in doing so, it will make him look like, and I suppose that's what makes him be the superior technician, that he picks his moments to unload his punches, to throw his punches in combination. He picks his moments, and that is when he is safe to do so. So he's set, and his opponent isn't set. So Dmitry Bivol will let his punches go, and it'll look sort of impressive, and look, there's an artistry about it because he does it when his opponent is not set to throw punches back. Whereas Arthur Beterbiev can kind of throw his punches from anywhere. Doesn't matter. Doesn't seem to matter where his feet are set. Doesn't seem to matter about his body position. He can get his shots off sort of at any point, which will kind of not make him look so much, not give him like this visual flow that Bivol has. So I think that's why their styles look so contrasting. When it comes to footwork, I think a large amount of this fight in terms of Bivol could be won and lost with his footwork. Now, Beterbiev has fantastic footwork also, but it's not as elaborate and it's not as obvious as Bivol's is. You look at Bivol and you watch him move, and it's a joy. Everything he does has this flow, this artistry, this sort of superb smoothness and rhythm. So his footwork is more elaborative because of that. It's the way he does it. It's more obvious, where Beterbiev's is more understated but as effective. A lot of people view Beterbiev as this killer, this monster, which comes from the sort of the psychology, his attitude, his personality, but it's emphasized by the fact that he's a puncher 20 wins, 20 stoppages. So the killer side of Beterbiev is emphasised visually because he's stopped everyone so far, because he's this puncher. But when we talk about the killers and this killer mentality, I think Bivol is equal the amount of killer in his makeup, in his psyche. I just don't think it is visible in the way that it is in Beterbiev, because he's not the puncher, because he doesn't have the stoppages on the record. He doesn't appear to be the killer that Beterbiev is. But I think if we compare psyches and we compare personalities, we compare where they've come from, we compare the attitude and the mental toughness, I think Bivol is equal. I just don't think it looks that way because he's not the puncher that Beterbiev is. For a long time, like I said, I thought Beterbiev was favourite. But I think if we look at it in terms of what each guy has to overcome, or what hurdles each guy has, what problems, what things that are going against each fighter, should we say. If we look at the things working against Bivol, the thing you'd only really say is he lacks the power. He lacks the real destructive stoppage power, whether that be one punch power or accumulative power. Bivol doesn't seem to have it. Certainly not on the level of Beterbiev. So the things working against Bivol really only are, and possibly that slightly naturally, he's the slightly smaller man, and physical strength probably being slightly less. Although when I look at the two physiques of the guys, I mean, you know, when we talk about physical strength, there are a lot of metrics to measure it in. You know, if we were to say who could bench the most, you know, I wouldn't put money on Beterbiev being able to bench more than Bivol. I think Bivol, when you look at his physical makeup, he kind of looks like the thicker guy, even though he can appear to be the smaller man. A lot of people talk about Beterbiev struggling to make the weight, and certainly at his age, you would think that Beterbiev would have the harder job making the weight, i.e. that would take more out of Beterbiev than it would out of Bivol. Saying that, I've seen Bivol in between fights and interviews, and he looks like he blows up quite a lot. He gets quite a moon face and looks like he puts on quite a bit of weight in between fights. So maybe he struggles to make the weight, or has a job making the weight, or is naturally a lot bigger than that. Who knows? But when it comes to physical strength, I wouldn't suggest just because Beterbiev has the knockout percentage, the higher knockout percentage, that he is the physically stronger man. It doesn't quite work that way. But when we look at Beterbiev and the things that he's got working against him, we have the age factor, which is always going to be working against him. And with minute by minute, the age factor will become more and more of an issue for Beterbiev. And we never know when Beterbiev is going to age overnight and certainly and sort of instantly become an old man. That could happen on Saturday night. Who's to know? Who's to say it won't? But he's got the age working against him. He's got the recent injuries working against him, the meniscus tear. That's always going to be there. You know, that's happened. That's always going to have happened. So there's always the risk of that. He's got the fact that he's got to deal with Bivol's movement. So that's going to work against him. That's another problem he's got to overcome. You know, there are quite a few of these, but when you look at the two fighters and say, who's got the more hurdles to jump? I would say Beterbiev has. Now, is this going to be a case of, I expect this to be quite cagey early on. I expect if Beterbiev can catch up with Bivol, it's going to take him a few rounds. It kind of goes down to, will Beterbiev be able to catch up and impose his power on Bivol before Bivol runs away with the rounds? And can Beterbiev catch up with him before 12? Because you would expect on the outside for Bivol to clock up rounds. And for me, it kind of depends on whether Beterbiev can catch up and catch him and make the power tell. We also don't know how good a chin Bivol has. because up to this point, there's no questions over it. Will Beterbiev, will his power have an effect on Bivol? Will Bivol be able to take his shots? Who knows? There are all these factors coming into this fight that really make this a 50-50 for a lot of people. This is why this fight is the best fight in boxing, because it's an equal split almost. Although I would say the edge lies with Bivol. I think he's got less hurdles to overcome than Beterbiev. He's got less things working against him than Beterbiev has. Beterbiev's got to overcome more hurdles. The problem is Beterbiev has that power. You know, the thing with a lot of punchers is when you get like boxer versus puncher, there's a clear difference between the boxing ability between the boxer and the puncher. The boxer having a far more boxing ability. I'm not sure that's the case with this. Beterbiev's, like I said, his boxing style is less elaborate. It's less fancy. It's less pretty than Bivol. So you think he's less of a boxer? I don't think he is. I just think he does it in a more, it's more subtle, the things he does. The great things he does is more subtle. One of the great things that Beterbiev does is he applies pressure even when he's not throwing punches. Usyk is great at this. A lot of fighters are. This is a really hard thing to do. That everything Beterbiev does, every movement, every angle, every look, everything. There's a threat to everything he does, even when he's not throwing punches. And this can have such an effect on the opponent and such an effect on the way an opponent goes about his game plan. When you've got a guy in front of you that everything he does is a threat, every movement is a threat, because coming off that movement, maybe a punch, maybe a combination. Every movement he does, maybe moving into a position where someone like Beterbiev can unload a punch from anywhere. So everything he does carries threat, even when he's not letting his hands go. And it'll be interesting to see how Bivol goes about that and goes sort of what lane he takes in overcoming that and dealing with that threat. That's what makes this fight so fucking great, man. This is such a good fight. Saying that, when we talk about the injuries that Beterbiev has and has had, we've had Bivol's wife come out, haven't we, and say that he's suffering from a load of injuries as well. Listen, speaking from experience, you won't find a fighter out there, amateur or pro, pretty much, that isn't carrying some kind of knock or some kind of injury. It's just part and parcel of a high impact sport. You go to any gym and you will find pretty much everyone in any boxing gym has got some kind of injury, some kind of niggle, especially at the professional level, especially at the top end, especially on the rigorous camps that these guys do and the fights and the careers. No one is injury free. So when we talk about Beterbiev's knee, the meniscus, and the injuries he's had, with Bivol's wife coming out and saying that he's got, a list of injuries that ongoing injuries that he suffers with, let's not weigh too much on the fact that Beterbiev has the injury, because Bivol will carry injuries too. All fighters do. But as I said earlier, the meniscus certainly is a serious one. Prediction time. Fuck. Cool. For a long time, I favoured Beterbiev. I think Bivol's the favourite. I think if you looked at the split, I think you would find that more people favour Bivol than Beterbiev. And tough, man, tough. I think if we'll see a pattern early on, I think if this goes to 4 rounds and we see how much trouble Beterbiev has dealing with Bivol's movement and how Bivol can handle the pressure from Beterbiev, I think after 4 rounds we might see a pattern that might run out over 12. All right, you're going to push me for a winner. I am going to go objectively. I'm going to say Bivol on points. Maybe a unanimous decision on points. I kind of hope it doesn't. If I leave objectivity aside, I'd love to see Beterbiev win this. I'd love to see Beterbiev win in devastating fashion. I just like those kinds of fighters. They're the fighters that I'm attracted to, that I like watching, that appeal to me. Yes, I appreciate the sweet science and I appreciate pure boxers. Of course I do. But I love excitement. I love killers. I love punchers. So on a personal level, I'd love to see Beterbiev go out and smoke Bivol. And that isn't because I dislike Bivol. I like both guys. Bivol's a fantastic guy, consummate professional, have the utmost respect for him, and I really like the guy. But I just like Beterbiev, and I'd love to see a destructive Beterbiev performance. That's just what I'd like to see. Objectively, I pick Bivol. I pick Bivol for the fact that he's got less hurdles to overcome, and he's just such an artist. He's just such a technical artist that I pick him to win a unanimous points decision. So we'll see if I'm right. Who you guys got? Let me know. I'll catch up with you soon.